I'm Avery.
And I'm Mel.
This is the Veda Lounge Podcast.
All things Vedic, cosmic, and magic.
For yoga teachers, entrepreneurs, creatives, and coming back to your own center.
We explore themes on living like you practice to knowing your nature.
Join the conversation for an embodied homecoming to illuminate your radiance.
Through getting nerdy with Vedic sciences and self-discovery, cozy into your cosmic cadence. All right, welcome back to the Veda Lounge Podcast. I am so excited to introduce my friend Terri. She owns Ippodaro Hair Salon here in San Antonio. And I always say, some of you guys may not know this story, but just to give a little brief, very quick storytelling moment. A couple years ago, obviously my hair color is not my natural hair color. I have very dark hair and I love having my ice blonde, which is a lot to keep up with. And a couple years ago, I had a normal appointment and my hair got burned off and I was bald in in my hair, and it was a huge experience of transformation, but it was also a little traumatic. I would say actually a lot traumatic. As a woman, I think a lot of us can relate to this. Like, our hair is this safety blanket, and there's so much energetically woven into our relationship with hair. And so as I was on a journey to heal my hair, a friend of mine introduced me to Terri, and I have just been so grateful. And I know that if you're not local to San Antonio, I think that this episode today can give you guys some textures on awareness of that there is intentional beauty care industries. Like, there's ways to work with people who offer these services in a very intentional way. So yeah. I'm going to open up the floor with Terri here to kind of tell us your journey, your story, and what led you to get into holistic hair care.
Ooh, okay. Well, thank you first off for having me on your show, Melissa. I really appreciate it, and excited for what you guys are all doing. So I think it's amazing what you're bringing to the community. And so I started off with holistic. I have to give credits to my mom because she, as a kid, has exposed me to more holistic living. And I've always wanted a career where I could serve other people, be in contact and communication. And so I chose the hair route. And as I'm going in the hair route, I realized I've met a lot of stylists that have been in the industry for a long period of time, and they were not able to eventually later in their career, they weren't able to do hair anymore because of chemicals. And so I saw the long lasting results kind of from a wiser stylist and them having skin issues, or having to just halt their career altogether. And that's what motivated me to dive into more of the holistic type of beauty, more intentional beauty. And it goes further beyond that. I'm led to being an entrepreneur in this direction just because every single day I like being able to have somebody come in. They've been doing something for a long period of time. It's not working, or their skin is reacting to something. It's really fun to dive in. Okay, what's the cause of it? What's the ingredient? So I like to focus more on the root cause to why. And that's where the intentionality comes into play. And so I think it's just been interesting. I've met a lot of different people with health issues where this is your crown, and when our crown isn't just like what you said about your hair, that's where we're like, okay, we're going to come in and we're going to put you on this roadmap to healthier hair. Because I think that's the crown. It's important. It's what makes us feel better. Getting up in the morning, and when your hair is not good, everything kind of else,
Yeah, it's so true. Honestly, until I lost my hair, I didn't realize how deeply woven it is into confidence and all of these things. And I remember that week after, it took me 2 days to process. I don't even think I left the house. I was like, what just happened? And I'm grateful the stylist at the time who this happened with, she was willing to help kind of cover up my bald, and figure out a way. But, it was this realization of that. How do I say this? It was almost like a really big moment to realize how powerful our energy is compared to not just how we look, but the energy that we emulate. And our hair being such a beautiful, or it's a fun accessory that can really tell a story about the version of us in that season. I feel like when people go through those in-betweens with their hair, it's almost this transformation of our story, right?
No, yep, changes. Absolutely. That's the beautiful thing of it is we can transform you as you go along your seasons of life.
How often is it when we look at old pictures, we're like, whoa, my hair was so different, or whoa, like, because it's like this marker of that person or version we were in that time. And I remember when I first started working with you, learning about more of the holistic products. And, I mean, personally, I'm a big advocate for transparency in the beauty industry and the importance of being mindful of chemicals. I don't know if there's anything you want to share with people just to be aware of that, oftentimes you see.
Honestly, I think the hair is usually the last thought, or our scalp and our skin. So we tend to, if something irritates, it's like, oh, let me just brush it off. But honestly, I think it's really important to be aware of your hair tells you when things are off in your body. And I think that's where I'm trying to put that gap in, like, hey, your hair does signal to you, you're going through menopause, or you just had a baby, the hair loss that's happening. I mean, what you put on your body it's same thing as your hair. If your hair is not responding to it correctly, it's signaling to you. And I think that's we just being more aware of what our hair is doing.
I was going to say, what are some signs that can show us within our hair that, hey, something might be off?
When you have, I think one is the shedding. Like when you start noticing lots more shedding, it could be linked to a lot of different things. Is there stress? Is there lack of protein? What am I taking in nutritionally? Thyroid, if you have thyroid problems, your hair actually responds. You start to get thin in this area, and all hormonal is usually right in these areas right here. That could be one indicator. If your hair is lacking shine, it's most likely that you're using a lower quality ingredient, which is just building up. And so I always say you have your top shelf ingredients and your low shelf ingredients. So the low shelf ingredients typically kind of, it gives like a mask around the hair where your hair just constantly feels and looks oily all the time. Those are usually bad plastics or very low quality ingredients. And it's just coating the hair. It's not really cleaning the hair. So hair, a healthy hair will have a lot of movement to it. It should feel soft mostly, but transitioning when your body is going through different transitions based on seasons, your hair will kind of say, hey, I'm feeling dry right now, or I need more moisture. So it's just, we teach you to signal like, okay, that awareness of what's going on with the hair. What are you using? You taking care of it,
Yeah. I love that. It's so true too with the seasons. Do you notice with as we move into winter that hair dries out more
or gets staticky and things like that. Yeah. So for winter months, it's really good. I mean, especially living in San Antonio, I highly recommend a water softener, because I've seen people that don't have water softeners, and somebody that's never had frizz experiences frizz because the water is so hard here. So in the wintertime, I think it's really good to transfer into more of a moisturizing, maybe leaving the conditioner in for like 10 to 15 minutes, a little bit longer than you normally would. I also like oil treatments. Oil treatments are really good, but definitely do that when you know you're not going anywhere, especially if you have finer hair.
One of my favorite Ayurvedic things to receive is Shirodhara. And I don't know if you're familiar with Shirodhara, but it's where the oil warm oil pulls onto the forehead and then it moves into the scalp. And it's really good for grounding, so vata pacification. So very grounding and nourishing. But anytime I get Shirodhara done, it's like about a week until I feel like it's cut all the oils out.
Coming out.
The following 3 days, I'm like going nowhere or what am I?
But your hair is happy afterwards, right?
Oh yeah.
Just tuning into the hair and giving what it needs. I think that just being aware of that. In turn, when you take care of your hair, the hair will take care of you and the appearance of it as well.
I remember too, we did that, the Marma, bringing the self-care and Marma points and the,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah,
I
for
remember that class. Yes.
it was so cool for those listening. It was so awesome to get to collaborate. Like, when you think about yoga, we oftentimes kind of pigeonhole into very specific things, but mindfulness and yoga stretch so beyond the studio, but into so many different industries. And I had the privilege to go and share Marma points and some specific techniques we use in Shavasana for relaxation when they do the head massages. And I know it was so fun to bring that to you guys.
I think it's really, people carry a lot of stress in their head. And so giving that head massage encourages them to, hey, just take a moment with this fast-paced world that we're living in. I think don't feel bad for stopping and slowing down. I think, and that's what we try to capture when we do those massages at the shampoo bowl is, hey, take a moment to slow down. It's going to be all right. We definitely need to spread more of that into our world.
As hairstylists, I always hear like they're the other therapist, right? Like you guys get to listen to everybody's stress, everybody's situations. And, what are some things that you've noted, whether it's just within your own business, that you guys do for self-care and managing that?
I think with everybody, their self-care definition could be very different. I'll just use mine. My self-care is basically I like to go and work out. That's 1 hour that I get to do 3 times a week. And I used to feel bad for taking time away, especially coming from work to the kids. But the way I told my brain is there's somebody out there that wants to have that opportunity to share their love and being a service provider to anybody, and you're giving them the opportunity to share their love to you. And so, as far as self-care, working out, the trainer, that she's amazing. She, that to me, I had to start thinking of that way instead of like, okay, I need to hurry up and do this so I can mark the box off my checklist that I did something for myself. But I think at the same time, self-care is important because you can't serve on an empty vessel. I show up better to my team. I show up better to my kids, to my husband, when I take the moment. And every single morning, another self-care is I get up at 4 a.m. almost every morning because that's 1 hour where I can stay quiet and listen and have my cup of coffee. And I definitely, it's worth, even though people think I'm crazy waking up at 4 a.m., but that's the only time mama got. So that's the only time. So, in the evening time, it's all about the kids. So I think juggling that, self-care is important. You got to take time. You're just a better version when you do actually take time, just like yoga, doing what you're doing too, Melissa. I think it's just a recharge. It's good for our mind, our hearts.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's definitely, you crack me up with the 4 a.m. because honestly, I find as a business owner and an entrepreneur myself, it's like making time for family and for those responsibilities to serving your clients. There was a season, I'm not in this season at this moment. I'm craving to get back to it. But I would do the same. I would wake up around 4:30, 5 a.m. and have that hour, but I would do administrative stuff, like all the admin stuff for work. And so then I could have more spaciousness during the day to serve my clients or go home early or, it's definitely finding those spaces and prioritizing that stuff on how we flow through our day.
Yeah. Absolutely. And there's no right or wrong. Just find the time that works for you. I mean, when you're the most clear-minded, that's the best time to go and do it. Right?
Notice no interruptions. So
No interruptions. Yes. And
speaking
if
of
you're
that,
mama, you know when the interruptions are going to occur. So work around that.
yeah,
Yep.
and instead of fighting it, right? Like it's so
Exactly.
true. How do we collaborate? And this leads me to ask you, I'd love for you to share your experience because as a mom, as a business owner, having your brick and mortar space, what are some key things that you've learned as a business owner that people are wanting to start? And I'll just give a little context. For us in yoga therapy, for example, we have yoga that's out in the industry.
Yep.
But yoga therapy is a specialization, right? It is about helping people rehab or find pacification. Like it's more adapting to the unique needs of the individual and giving them a self-care plan. And it's a
Right.
little different, but in the yoga industry, there can be confusions for the consumers on, well, what's yoga therapy? And I can imagine in the hair industry, just like there's so many styles of yoga, so many different textures of it,
Yes.
there's so many styles there. Like, how have you differentiated yourself as a business owner and just some lessons and things you've learned on your path?
That's a great question. There's so much. Honestly, if you love, and that's the thing is, I love what I do, and in turn, that radiates to somebody else. And if you're going on as an entrepreneur, do it because you care about what you're doing, and that in turn will care to your consumers coming in, and that spreads. And I think my biggest thing is I was always in this rush to, okay, we need to get to the next level. And this past year, I've just worked on being content because this was a season of our business. That's the thing. You're going to have peak seasons and you're going to have down seasons. And this season was a down season for us. We had a lot of change in staff, as far as some moving on, and doing their own thing. Nothing bad. But I think that's the main thing is being content and keep striving for why you opened up your business in the first place. I think that is the key. And take care of your people, take care of your team, it's a win-win for everybody. And I think when you go in with that mindset, not just I'm doing this for myself, a business will succeed if you're doing it for others,
Yep.
and that's how you grow. And you're going to have people that are going to hurt you. And that's okay. But those trials are excellent because it just builds to the next person that's coming in. And so it's okay. Don't be afraid to get hurt because that's what helps you to build your policies in place. So
Oh my goodness. Honestly, I wasn't expecting the answers you just gave, but holy cow. I mean, I know with you and I, Terri, when I come in, it's like business mastermind talking about these things. Like we kind of go into some of this stuff, but it's so true around not making our business about this overarching success template that is so externalized, but rather
Right.
what is success for our own heart. And
Right.
in that, like the passion to serve. But dealing with people, I think one thing is it's for me, at least because I'm very like I love quick. I love quick and I pour in quick, and I've had to learn to really be patient and self-contained in a way. Like just because someone wants to collaborate or someone wants to do something, doesn't mean it can be always a yes, because it is true. And then one thing too with a practice that has really helped me, I feel called to share, people that have hurt me or experiences that have, kind of rocked me. What I really practice in my meditations around it, because if you think about it, like when I hear that person or that thing, like and y'all know what I mean if you're listening, you know how like you see that post or you see that thing and it kind of makes your stomach hurt, or you kind of feel right, to rid the residue out of our nervous system from some of those experiences. In my meditations, I'll visualize them and continue to say thank you. And just saying thank
Yes.
you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Gratitude is such a powerful tool. It's not a tool, it's life, right?
Mm.
Um, that's what I say to my wounds. Thank you.
Like, thank
Thank
you.
you for teaching me, you know?
It sounds so corny saying out loud, but it diffuses because that tension, like, and then you're like, I can be you. It doesn't make you wrong, doesn't make me wrong.
Right.
I honor you for you. I honor me for me, and thank you for, you know,
Me
for this
too.
experience.
Exactly. And I think that also helps in turn when you're in a service industry. I used to take a lot of people's emotions very personally. Like I was like, okay, did I, and it took me a couple of years. I mean, it took me a while. I'm here, I'm 38 now, and I'm like, okay, I think I get it. It's meeting where people are at and not taking so much offense if they come in with something heavy that they may be carrying. And I think when you start to perceive things that way, you'll turn the whole situation around. And that's what I thrive on, is that like if somebody comes in very hurt or whatever they're carrying, shine the light on them. It's like, hey, just that's what people are searching for. And I think that's what makes a successful business, when you care about every individual that comes into your chair or into your business. They're coming to you for something. And whether if it's just startup hair, but it's so much more to that. So yeah.
Yes, like wanting
Yeah,
to really truly wanting to see people win and do well. I really believe though these practices are a state of consciousness that we develop, right? The
absolutely.
ability to like have gratitude around, or I just like saying, okay, I'm hurting in this. Thank you, and how can I bless this wound within me with
Yep.
gratitude? But then on the other side of like really having, like being aware of our motives, because I think too, what you see, whether it's the yoga industry or hair industry, in just in general, people get an autopilot.
Yes, it's so easy to get into that autopilot mode too. And I think when you recognize that, like that's self-awareness, right? It's,
Mhm.
hey, okay, whoops, let me tune myself back in over here. And I'm guilty of that, of going into autopilot sometimes. And but I think we're human, so it just being aware of that is key.
It's like
You
a
know?
notification, right? Like in our bodies,
Yes,
it's like,
it's like no,
okay,
no, no, no,
slow
no.
down. Because for me, as an entrepreneur, I definitely can get, I hate to say it, like I love what I do, but sometimes I get bored, if that makes sense. Like I like to spice things up. I like to try new things, and I'm a very creative, and I feel like my momentum flows when I honor that creativity or launching
Yes.
random new things. So I've learned that about myself, which has allowed me to not feel like I'm stuck, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's growth when you can definitely recognize those things and be better from that. I think
Yeah.
I really like how you put that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think too, and I'm sure you see it in the hairstyling industry, is that people like, do they last long term, right? Are people just here for 2 years, 1 year, 3 years, versus like building an actual career? And this is a conversation in the yoga industry often as well, right? How do you sustain it?
I think it's treated as if they're a new client every single time. And I think it's very easy for us on the autopilot mode is, oh, you want the same thing as last time? And I really try to recognize, because it's very easy, people too. But I think when you create that newness, not everybody, some people like that same pace. But I think it's being aware also of that person having that open space of, do you want to change it? Let's change it up. I think and that will carry on a long-term relationship with your guests. So I definitely love the long-term bonding, getting to know each person, um, and just watching them through their seasons of life. It's a reward too when they come and grow and all of that. So I
Yeah,
think serving people is amazing.
it
It's the
is.
best job ever.
It's
Yeah.
so true, especially like
Uh-huh.
with the long-term clients or people who stay in touch, and it really is so rewarding. But I think that's part of the byproduct of presence, right? Really
Right.
being present with who's in your chair. And that's something that I noticed really quick with working with you was like I felt so seen and heard. And again, this is a component as yoga therapists or yoga teachers, like us attending who is in front of us
Right.
versus because a lot of times in the yoga industry, people will over plan, like they over pre plan. So then it's like this one way and they don't modify for who's in front of them or ask,
That's
what are you in the mood for today, right?
that's very common in the hair industry too. I hear that. Oh, I left that size because she's not open to changing. So
Isn't that so?
don't stunt your growth.
It's so interesting, though, and I love that you're sharing this because I want to demonstrate the universal components on, like, with being in service, being an entrepreneur that a lot of us share, no matter what industry, because people are people, right?
Absolutely. We're in the business to serve. I mean, that's that if you're in any human interaction in any of your business, don't forget that component. They're there because we're here in business because of them.
I would love for you to share what does Ippodaro mean, or the story behind it.
So it actually means beautiful princess in Korean. And then if the guys are asking, I'll usually say beautiful or handsome prince. So Ippo is pretty translated in Korean, and Daro is like goddess, princess, prince. Yeah.
Love that. That's so fun because you're because I know like there's different you hear about people talking about products and things from France, things from Korea, things from like and I don't know much about that world, but
Yeah, definitely. I think definitely Korea and Europe has a much higher standard in what they can eliminate to be able to be a certified organic product. They have so much more things that they have to go through versus the US market. So we typically lean more towards the European products just because they are definitely more transparent about what they're putting in. But I think big transition of what I've been seeing in the US market is more companies are starting to come out and be more transparent in what they're putting in their products. And I think the main key is like turn your bottle around and just Google up some of the first 3 to 4 ingredients, and you'll be amazed at what are they. Is it toxic? Is it not? But definitely EWC, it's Environmental Working Group. I'm sorry, EWG.org is a really good place to go if you want to look at the toxicity levels of your ingredients that you might be currently carrying. It'll give you, it's still kind of all research based. So, but their database has grown a lot. So you'll be able to type in an ingredient and it'll give you like the exposure of how I guess unhealthy it is versus a healthier. So it's pretty neat.
well, it's so great that we have this awareness now because even from, the yogic ethical context of yamas and niyamas, like how we are practicing nonviolence and honesty and not stealing from ourselves or just like purity and contentment. I mean, I think that clean products and just being aware of what we're consuming, it makes a difference in our health immensely, the intentionality.
I definitely, if you notice a product that has been bought out by a bigger corporate, which unfortunately that does happen when the company sells out, they do change the ingredients to make it a little bit cheaper. So I always tell people if L'Oreal, I'm not dashing on L'Oreal by all means, but typically they're more quantity, so they're gonna eliminate the harsh they're gonna put the more cheaper ingredients, but still carry the same brand. So I always just be mindful of that.
Yeah.
Corporations Corporate America.
Corporations. It's crazy. I think too, when I started learning about some of this stuff, some of the people in just local community, a lot of people make stuff at home and then sell it. And there's just so many good natural products. But I will say that I love the line that I have from you, and it's called Cat Lady, or like that's the flavor.
Routine, yes.
What is the brand again?
Routine. They're
Routine.
Canadian based. Yep. Yeah, and they're so cool. One's like a musician and her best friend's a nurse, and then they created this product, and they're very eco-friendly. And they're mindful. They've got really neat deodorant sticks too. I think you've tried some of that. But the one that Melissa uses is Cat Lady, which actually you can use on your cats too. If they allow you to give them a bath. And it's in a repurposed plastic bottle. So they also, those are refillable, which is really neat. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love it. I feel like it's been so amazing for my hair, and just again shifting from like, oh, I gotta maintain myself, but into the ritual that these things can be. That caring for our hair and our personal care is self-care, right?
It all connects. It's if you take care of your mind, your heart, your hair, it'll take care of you in first.
I feel like that's like a template for something,
Right.
like a diagram. I love it.
Yeah,
Everybody journal about your caring for your heart, mind, and hair.
exactly. And even nutrition, just saying,
Yeah.
good nutrition equals clear mind, clear hair.
Yeah, no, it's huge. Well, this is so cool. I really appreciate you taking time to just drop in and share some wisdom. I feel like for our community, especially if you're a yoga teacher, you might be like, why am I bringing a hairstylist on here? But I think that it's so cool for everybody to see. One is that intentional living can exist in so many dimensions of our life, so many different areas. And that part of our practices is also off the mat as well. So yeah, love what you guys do, Terri.
I love what you're doing, Melissa. This is great. Keep going, keep empowering. So thank you for having me on the show. I had a lot of fun talking to you.
Yes, thank you.